right, this is page 33. This may not work. I may have to sit back there. We're adding and subtracting radicals. What we did last week, which was just breaking radicals down, is going to come up in this lesson. So I know you've not been here for a few days. This is a great little review. I'll do a crash course review real quick. If you were still struggling with it, this is another opportunity to try to get better at it. You had a quiz on Friday, which means you have a test on this Friday. The stuff that was on that quiz will be on the test. But they will not be as difficult, okay? I'm not going to put, stand by, I'm not going to put the ones that are like x cubed, y, and then x to the 5th, y to the 7th. I'm not going to put any of those on there because that doesn't really come up again down the road, not that complicated. Breaking it down comes up, but not that complicated. We're going to stick to the ones that are more like this.
Oh, that's so easy.
Okay? So, last week's stuff, you still need to know. You with me? So make sure that if you didn't do good on the quiz last week, you either come to me during flex or you can ask me to reset an assignment so you can go back in and practice.
Is an 80 good?
Yes. All right. So listen. Oh, that's not going to work. So real quick crash course. If you recall from last week, let's see how well, look at that. All right. Breaking down the square root of 24. What perfect square goes into 24?
4.
4. How many times?
6.
6 times. All right, everybody stay with me. Stay with me. So we cannot take the square root of 24 because it's not perfect. Go to your calculator. I want everyone to type square root 24 just to see that you get an ugly decimal. Type square root 24. That's exactly why we're typing it in. You could also use Desmos. You're going to get a decimal. The decimal lets you know it's not perfect. So because it's not perfect, we have to factor tree it down into 2 numbers, and one of them needs to be perfect. So that's when you go to your list and you say, okay, what number from my list will divide into 24 nicely? Y'all already said it. It's 4. How many times does 4 go into 24? 6. So you see how I wrote this? It's square root 4 times square root 6. And the one that's perfect will go further. Now go to your calculator and type square root of 4. Or you should know this one, but type square root 4. You see that it's 2? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, do you see how the square root of 24 is actually 2 root 6? Now type 2 root 6 in your calculator. You should notice it's the exact same decimal as square root 24. All right, that's breaking down a radical. Watch this, because I'm not going to throw another example in there. Watch this, everybody. What if there had been a 3 here? This 3 would have come down to the end and multiplied by whatever came out of the perfect square. So instead of having 2 root 6, I would actually have what? 6 root 6.
That's all.
Okay? Everybody good?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's refresh you on variables. When it's the square root of a variable to an even number, let's do 10. When it's an even exponent, this is even. that means it's perfect. What is the square root of x to the 10th? X to the 5th. It's perfect. How do you take the square root of it? You divide the exponent by 2. That's how you take the square root of it. If you need to know the math behind it, it's because the area of a square is x to the 10th, and that comes from x to the 5th times x to the 5th. That's the math behind it. Now, what's the other scenario? It could be what? What type of exponent could it also be?
Even with.
Okay, so I'm going to do 7. So this is an odd number. Can I take the square root of a variable to an odd exponent?
No.
No. I'm going to, just like I did here, I'm going to factor tree it into 2 expressions. One of them will always be to the first power, because every odd number is just one away from an even. And the other one is what's left over. What's the square root of x to the 6th power?
X3.
X to the 3rd. And then bring this down. Okay? What in the world? So there's a crash course on breaking down the radical and breaking down the variables. Now, I showed you that because now what we're doing is looking at adding and subtracting them. Let me show you one more thing. Look at this. Does this ring a bell from middle school?
Yep. 6x.
If you have 2x and you're adding 4x, you have 6x. What if you have 3xy minus 2xy?
That's why.
It's just
What
XY.
It'd be an understood 1xy, right?
What's an understood?
You don't write it, but it's there.
There.
Don't write it because you won't see it on the stage. Do you notice how this had an... Oh, what is the world? That was... I don't like the green. Do you notice how this had an x and this had an x, which lets me know they're like terms? So I was able to combine the coefficients, keeping the x.
Yep.
Do you notice how this one had xy, xy? So I was able to combine the coefficients and I still have an xy. Alright, what about this?
First you gotta do
4xy
4xy by
by
itself,
itself,
and then you move on because that's just the way of order.
And then just xy.
Yeah, and then you just...
Do these match?
Yeah, but you can't do them yet until you do that.
Do they match though?
Yes, they do.
Then you can add them, right?
Yeah, but that has to
Do these match?
No.
Nope. So you're done.
Guys, remember too, like right there, if it had xy and then the next one had yx, you can still add them together even though they're out of order, as long as they don't go square. Right, Ms. Holcombe?
The variable has to match and the exponent, but the order of the variables doesn't have to match. He's saying this could have been 3yx.
That would have been okay. 'cause
You
they're
would have
both
still
just
been able to add them. Okay?
But you gotta, don't you have to do like 4xy on 4xy first?
No. Just let me show you.
Since the
Let
y
me guide
has
you there.
squared, you couldn't do anything with it.
We're not squaring anything. It's the y that's squared. So, do you remember this from middle school?
No.
Great. This is the same concept as today's lesson, but it's not an x or a y. Instead, it's a root 2. So if you had 2 root, or not a root 2, it's a square root. So you had 2 root 3, and then you added 4 root 3. Because the roots match, you can combine them, and you get 6 root 3. So it's the same concept. Y'all with me? You watching Penny? I can't go up there to the board because Betty is not working. The board.
Betty the board.
Betty the board.
Betty the pin.
Betty's a pin.
Hetty and Betty? Look at your shoe.
No.
Not Hetty.
All right. Let's make our list of perfect squares. We got 1, 4, 9. That was 3. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Catch up if you didn't have
11,
correct number. Change it.
12, 13, 14, 225. 16 squared is 256 if that interests you, but I don't think you really need it. Okay, we are adding and subtracting radicals. Let's dive into the 2 examples and then the 4 practice problems, and then we'll go to our assignment. You can only add or subtract.
Perfect.
No.
Simplify.
Like. Let me teach. I got it. You can only add or subtract like radicals. Like means they match. It means that they have the same radicand. Penny's writing, so should you. Pen. Penny, the pen. Penny, the pen. Some of y'all need to get with me. You're getting Saturday Night Live on Wednesday, and you need to get it on Saturday. It's all right. Just wait for it.
You never heard us say that.
We're going to simplify first, though. This is really important. First and foremost, you have to simplify before you can decide if you can add or subtract. Then you will simply combine the coefficients. You recall, coefficients means the number in front of something, the number in front of the radicals, and then you'll keep the radicals. All right. Let's start out easy. 3 square root 2 plus 2 square root 2. Question, can I break down square root 2? No, thank you. 2 is prime. Prime, you've learned since 4th grade. Prime means it's only divisible by 1 and itself. So if I was to list the numbers that divide into 2, I only get 1 and 2. That's it. That means it's prime. 7's prime, 3 is prime, 5 is prime, 11. Those are prime numbers. Anytime the radicand is a prime number, you can't break it down. It's going to stay put. So this is root 2 and this is root 2. Do they match? Yes. Which means I can consolidate it. I can combine it. Check your coefficient. What number is understood to be right here? There's definitely a 1 right here. Make sure you're with me. There's a 1 right here. So if I have 3 root 2 and I add 4, gave the answer. If I have 3 root 2 and I add a root 2, then I have 4 root 2. So this equals 4 root 2. They're like terms because they have the same radical. So you can add them or subtract them. They just have to have the same radical. That's as easy as it gets. What makes it more challenging? Because we are in high school. Sometimes you have to break the radical down. That's what makes it more challenging. Yes?
Where do you get the 2 from?
It was already there.
It's here. You see, it says combine the coefficients but keep the radicals.
But we just added.
You don't change the radical. The
I see what
radicals,
we're doing.
it's like a last name. It looks just like this over here from middle school. Remember this?
So can you do one like show a fraction? You know how you can only add like fractions, and so only the numerator changes, the denominator is not when you're adding fractions.
Oh, like 1/2 plus 3/2. Ah.
Yeah. So guys, so when we're doing this and it's on a radical, think of it kind of like a division bar where it separates the top and the bottom. You can only add them together if they have the same bottom. So you can only add them together if they have the same radical, but you can change the number on top, or in this case, in the front. So on this one would be 4/2. So like in her other example, it showed, back to the notes page, when you have 3 on the square root of 2 plus square root of 2, then you're only adding the ones in front, just like you only added the top. So on the
I highlighted it for you too, so that you would
stays the same.
see that because these match, that lets me know I can combine them together.
Wait, so that's one?
It's, yeah,
So
there's
what
a one
happens
in
if they
front.
don't match? If they don't match, I just...
Then you can't.
No, let me. I'm gonna get there. Like,
Oh! Oh, you're nasty.
okay.
Hey, man. Hey, you have good questions. Just be patient. Okay.
This is from middle school. Remember this from middle school? 2x plus 4x. Y'all said it's 6x. You said it as soon as I wrote it on the board.
Yeah, but...
It's the same concept.
I never got...
It's the same concept. Instead of an x, though, we're going to have the square root of a number, and they just have to match. And then you can combine them. Okay? So coming back over here. Everybody go to number 1. Everybody go to number 1. No, we're coming back to it. I mean, I want you to jump to number 1 and make sure you can do it.
Number 1 is like our first example.
Exactly.
You should be done. If you're not done, let me walk through this one and hopefully you'll understand it. You have 3 root 5 plus 5 root 5. Do the radicands match? Radican means the like the radical, the part under the radical. Why is he not with you? They do match. Right here's a 5, right here's a 5. That's what has to match. Think of it as like you got to check the radican before you can combine it. So if I have 3 of them and then I add 5, now I have 8. That's it. I'm not trying to sound like I'm talking down to you. That's what it is. I have 3 root 5s. I have 5 root 5s. I'm adding them together, so I have 8 root 5s. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's look at when it's not so simple, because that's what we're really learning. So come back up here to, let me circle this. Oh, no. Oh, wow. It's like the, there we go. Okay. Heart. Let's look at this expression here. We got 3 root 3ab minus 3 root 27ab. Okay? Let's focus on the roots. Kind of like when you're taking a trip, the first thing you check is what route you're going to take, right? You're going to go to the interstate, you're going to go back roads, what are you going to do? So we've got 3ab and 27ab. So don't go to the phone.
Why do I have to go down there?
I know, just take that down there with you. Take it with you. And tell him y'all are not going to the barn. Is 3 right here? Can I break 3 down, y'all?
No, it
No.
is one of those.
It's 3 is
one of
prime.
those things.
And then notice this is just A and B. Can I break those down?
No.
No. You should have enough experience now to recognize when it's to the first power, it won't break down, right? Now, come over here. I have 27AB. Will 27 break down? Yes. So we have a little bit of work to do before we can actually combine, okay? This pulls in last week's lesson. The good news is you're not going to have any ugly ones like from last week, okay? So this should be manageable. The bad news is I don't really know how you want to organize your work. Everybody's different, okay? So watch how I organize mine. Make sure you're watching. I'm going to basically focus on this entire expression right here, and I'm not going to worry about this yet. So I've got -3 root 27ab. What is the 27 factor tree out to? 9, sorry. The pen's not, there we go. 9 square root 9 times square root 3. Notice this 3 right here, I'm just going to bring it down because it's in the front. What about the AB? It's going to stay under there. So I'm just going to write another square root and just leave AB because we've already talked about how it can't go any further. Are y'all with me? I'm writing, so you should be writing. Now I'm going to fix the one that's perfect. I'm going to put PS under the one that's perfect so that you'll remember that that keeps going. Everything else is going to come down. Okay? Everything else is going to come down. Do I need to zoom in? Carly, can you see? All right, so I'm going to bring this 3 down. No, my pen's not working. There we go. I'm going to bring this 3 down, put a multiplication. What's the square root of 9, y'all?
3.
3. Comes out of the square root after you take it. Okay? I'm going to bring down the square root. The square root of 3ab.
How do you square root that?
You don't. That's, remember, there's stuff left over.
Okay.
And then now, what is 3 times 3?
So we have 9, 3AB.
What about the other part?
I just haven't dealt with it yet.
Wait.
So the only thing I've done right now is break down the 3 square root 27ab. That's all I've done. I've got to remember the whole point here was that I'm combining it with some other radical. So I'm just going to draw an arrow to tell myself, okay, I'm going to need to bring that down. Here we go. 3ab. What do you notice now about our radicals? Now they match.
Yeah, they're.
Copy that subtraction sign because this was definitely a -3, right? Now they match. So can I actually combine this? I hope y'all are staying with me. Yeah, I can combine this. This 3ab matches this 3ab. So we end up with, watch your sign, -6 root 3ab. So we end up with -6 square root 3ab. That's our answer.
Okay, so after you get both of those taken down and simplified, then
There's some more stuff coming down the road. There's way more steps. So try to stay with me. It's called productive struggle. And that's where we are, okay? So try to stay with me. Don't give up on me. Gone are the days where it's like 1 or 2 steps. So it's breaking it down.
I can't see what in the radical says. That's like an 8, a 3, or a 4.
It's 3AB.
Yeah, 3. No, the answer, because I already had that. But aren't we?
Why it wouldn't change, Bane. The goal is the radicand stays the same. The only thing that changes is going to be the part in the front, the coefficients.
I'm not understanding this. I don't have that.
Okay, look. Hey, all you do is break it down. And if they match, you say, hey, look at that, they match. I can write it as a single radical. That's it.
And if they don't, then you
Then
just
you can't write it as a single
then you
radical.
just subtract.
No. If this had been, say, Because squared would break down.
So only the things in yellow need to match. I don't get what you're saying.
Did you understand this?
No, I never got taught that.
No.
You answered it though. When I said, what's 2x plus 4x? You said 6x.
Yes, I know how to do the basics, but anything past that, I don't really know how to do it. I didn't go to school.
This means you got 2 of them. You're gonna add 4 more. So how many
Yeah.
do you have?
You have 6x.
6.
I mean, I understand that, but like,
This is the same
how does that
thing.
correspond?
Don't let the square root throw you off. It's just an identifier.
Okay, then 3 plus 3, that'd be 6. What are you saying? Or,
I don't understand where you're adding.
okay,
Hold
3AB.
Can you please try number 2? Ask yourself from the get-go, can you add these terms together given the radicals that you see?
You gotta be trying it, you gotta be using your pencil, you gotta be making an effort. And remember, look at your list of perfect squares. That can help you remember what to factor into it.
We got square root 18, square root 6, and square root 8. Will they all combine at the very beginning? Can I combine any of them? No, none, right? They're not like terms at all. All right, which one is done though? Like which one cannot be broken down? Wait a minute, think again. Which one is in simplest form? 4 square root 6. 6 is not prime, but 6 doesn't have any perfect square factors, right? If you think about it, the factors of 6 are 1 and 6, 2 and 3, and none of those are going to help me break it down. So 6 is done. The square root of 6 is done. So this one is done. I'm just going to put a check mark here because it's done. That's not a good check mark. I can't do anything with it. I'll come back to it when I get towards the end of my problem. That one's done. Is 18 broken down in its simplest form? No, 18 is not simplified. What perfect square goes into 18?
9.
How many times?
2.
So this becomes square root 9 times square root 2. Bring that negative down. What is the square root of 9, y'all?
3.
So that's negative 3 root 2. Right?
Yep.
Because it right here.
Yeah, negative 1.
Negative.
It's a negative.
It's a negative
Yeah,
1.
you just multiply it by your.
Same thing as negative 3 square root 2. Because it's a negative 1 times a positive 3 that would come out of that, which is negative 3. Alright, and we said this one was done, so I'm just going to draw an arrow to say, bring that down. Can't do anything with that.
Do we just
You just bring it down.
do we time it?
Just bring it down. Now, is 8 done?
No.
Nope. 8 will break apart into square root what times what?
44.
4 and 2. This does have a 2 in the front, so don't forget it. Now, what is the square root of 4, y'all?
The square root of 4 is 2.
So this becomes
2
2
times 2.
times 2 root 2. If you look directly above what I wrote, you'll see where it's coming from. I hope everybody's paying attention. Everybody look. Make sure you're looking at what I'm writing. This is where showing your work along the way is really helpful, okay? Because I'm only doing like one thing each time, but I'm definitely showing my work so that the next line is easier. And now I'm going to run through and see what needs to change, y'all. What needs to be cleaned up?
You can multiply that too.
Yeah, this right here has got to get cleaned up.
Gotta-
Those are going to multiply. 2 times 2, root 2. So I'm going to change that to a positive 4 root 2. Now, all this stuff can just do what?
It can just drop down,
It can
right?
just drop down because I've done nothing with it yet.
And guys, organization in this is going to help you not make a simple mistake. Okay, so do your best.
What is the point of doing that 2 times 2? Because somewhere on the variable is going to become the exact same way. It's still like 4.
Because this 4 is up underneath the square root.
Oh, yeah.
This one came on the outside, so they are different. I see what you mean, but they are different. Now, which ones can be combined, y'all? Root what?
4.
Quit drawing on
Root 4.
The fours are outside the root. What inside?
2 and 2. 2 and 2. So
root 2, root 2. Those are like terms. So we can combine this. Now, how you write it is up to you. You could write it first or you could write it second. So this is negative 3, root 2, plus 4, root 2. What do you get?
1 root 2.
Negative 3 plus 4.
1 root 2.
There's an understood 1 root 2, right? From that? Does everybody agree? Negative 3 plus 4. Now, what about this that I've not done anything with?
Bring it down.
Bring it down and it's just in your answer. No, you cannot combine this. Root 2 plus 4 root 6 is your answer. Okay?
So, okay, understood.
Will y'all please try number 3?
Guys, great job asking questions. Okay, because if you're thinking, there's at least 2 other people here thinking. Well, most of you.
So everybody's trying number 3. I would love for you to try it all the way, and then I'll put the answer and the work on the board. I need you to try it all the way though. You're not practicing the math if your paper's blank. The A just stays over the radical. Because it's A to the first power. You can't break it. So it just comes down. And you could leave it on the square root. Because the 3's going to
I think I got it wrong.
If you finish number 3 and you feel confident, go on to 4.
Can you Dude, you just stop that math. I don't know. I can't read most of it. I'm gonna go over here.
All right, number 3. Everybody should have tried it. You should have looked first to see, can we combine these? And the answer is no. We cannot because they don't match. So then decide what can break down. What can be simplified? The square root of 12 can break down into what times what? Square root 4 times square root 3. What happens with the a here, y'all?
It comes as separate.
You can write it as a separate, or you could leave it in there with.
Allison, you got it wrong.
You can write it as a separate radical, or you can put it in there with the 3, since the 3 is not going to break down. Now, what is the square root of 4?
I'm lost.
Please pay attention to how I'm organizing my work here, because it's letting me clearly see the next step. What's the square root of 4? 2. Bring down the root 3a. Make sure it's under the radical. Now, have I done anything with this? Stay with me. Have I done anything with that? Nope. So I'm just going to copy it down. Minus 2 square root 3a. With me? Everybody looking up at the board? So we got 2 root 3a minus 2 root 3a, which means we got 0.
But it was be 0. So you wouldn't have the square root in here. You should just be big 0.
Close the tab and reopen it.
No.
All right, let's do number 4. Everybody try number 4.
Stop flexing.
They don't want you to talk center. Oh, it's 6 minus 4.
I'm just using it. See? What? I'm just
Hey, you want to look back at
Nope.
I never let y'all pack up at 9.
I'm at 9:25.
Okay, let's break down number 4. Do these match, guys? Please stay with me, y'all. This is the difference in some of y'all's grades. You don't hang in there.
Yeah, I did.
Do they match?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm tired. What can we break down?
45. I mean, just 5. Wait, what can we break down? Or what can we add?
Let's see if we get the same thing.
We can break down anything.
Can we combine something before we break it down?
Yeah. No. Yes.
Thank you, those of y'all that are engaged with us.
Are y'all looking
Yeah,
at the
I'm
board trying?
Yeah.
So what are our light
You've got-
terms already?
45 and 45. Negative 2 square root 45. Positive 3 square root 45.
So how many square roots of 45 would we have? 2. Well, if we have negative 2 and we're
Wait.
adding 3,
Oh, we have positive 1.
Okay. So
that's one way you can
if
do it.
you notice this matches this one, right? You with me?
Yes, ma'am.
So we're going to combine them and we end up with positive 1 square root 45. Right?
Yeah.
What's negative 2 plus 3, y'all?
You did positive 1.
Positive 1. Will square root 45 break down?
No. Yes.
Yes. Into what?
9 and 5.
Square root 9 and square root 5. What's the square root of 9?
3. And then drop down to
Also
5.
keeps bringing down.
It's perfect. 9 is perfect.
You're just not smart enough.
we kept the first.
You know what I mean?
No, the idea is to write it with a perfect square as a factor so we can break it down.
So I didn't write.
So 3 square root 5 minus square root 5. What's the understood number here? Negative 1. Shh. 3 square root 5 minus 1 square root 5. What does that give me?
2 square root
2 square root 5. Now, here's what I'd like you to do. Go to your calculator and type this in.
The whole sentence.
Then type this.
The whole thing.
Yes. The whole thing.
You gave me an
Try to type it in. You
I
guys,
asked
good
y'all to
skills,
stop
just
doing
typing it in.
impairment.
You like it? Type it in. The whole line in there, and then type it in. See if it.
You do have to arrow out of the square root.
8.5 is 72.
Wait, I'm not even.
4.4 is
2 sections.
That's why it's 10 on 12 you like a little bit.
No, I just deleted them.
Oh my.
Did you get matching decimals?
I think
Got the
so.
same thing. That lets you know that you simplified it correctly.
I think I
You
did.
broke down both. That's fine. That
No, I
means you
got
got
it
more
wrong.
practice.
Wait, you need